Greetings to all our subscribers, viewers, and friends at All About Shelters. I am your host, Architect Edric Marcos C. Florentino for All About Shelters, and you are watching RA 9266 Part 11. Now, in this episode, I will be zeroing in on Section 20 entitled Sale, Issuance, and Use of Sale under Article 3 Examination, Registration, and Licensure. Actually, the main topic of this section is about the seal or mark, if you may, that is imprinted or marked on the architect's document, if so required, of course. Most often, you can see or feel those marks on the architectural plans, specifications, or other architectural documents that are submitted for building permits. But before I continue to dig into Section 20, allow me to say that if you are interested on subjects around architecture, you may press that subscribe button below for you to get more videos about this. And who knows, you might get some valuable inputs and informations about designs, buildings, construction, best practices in the field of architecture and its laws, like the Architecture Act of 2004, otherwise known as Republic Act 9266, the Standards of Professional Practice, and many other matters and information about architecture. Or you may press that like button in support to what I'm doing, okay? And I appreciate it very much. So, without further ado, let me now read the context in section 20. Then I will give my thoughts on it, okay? All right. Section 20, Seal, Issuance, and Use of Seal. A duly licensed architect shall affix the seal prescribed by the board bearing the registrant's name, registration number, and the title architect on all architectural plans, drawings, specification, and all other contract documents prepared by or under his/her direct supervision. 1. Each registrant hereunder shall, upon registration, obtain a seal of such design as the board shall authorize and direct. Architectural plans and specifications prepared by or under the direct supervision of a registered architect shall be stamped with said seal during the life of the registrant's certificate, and it shall be unlawful for anyone to stamp or seal any documents with said seal after the certificate of the registrant name thereon has expired or has been revoked, unless said certificate shall have been renewed or reissued. 2. No officer or employee of this republic, chartered cities, provinces, and municipalities, now or hereafter charged with the enforcement of the law, ordinances, or regulations relating to the construction or alteration of buildings, shall accept or approve any architectural plans or specifications which have not been prepared and submitted in full accord with all the provisions of this act. Nor shall any payment be approved by any such officer for any work, the plans and specifications for which have not been so prepared and signed and sealed by the author. 3. It shall be unlawful for any architect to sign his/her name, affix his/her seal, or use any other method of signature on architectural plans, specifications, or other documents made under another architect's supervision. unless the same is made in such manner as to clearly indicate the part or parts of such work actually performed by the former, and it shall be unlawful for any person except the architect of record to sign or any branch of work for any function of architectural practice, not actually performed by him, her. The architect of record shall be fully responsible for all architectural plans, specifications, and other documents issued under his, her seal, or authorized signature. 4. Drawings and specifications duly signed, stamped, or sealed as instruments of service are the intellectual properties and documents of the architect, whether the object for which they are made is executed or not. It shall be unlawful for any person without the consent of the architect or author of said documents to duplicate or to make copies of said documents for use in the repetition of and for other projects or buildings, whether executed partly or in whole. 5. All architectural plans, designs, specifications, drawings, and architectural documents relative to the construction of a building shall bear the seal and signature only of an architect, registered and licensed under this act, together with his her professional identification card number and the date of its expiration. Now, let me start my presentation by saying that there are five subsections, if I may call it that way, in section 20. First subsection talks about having the seal and its life duration. Okay? In the second subsection, it tells us the accepting or receiving of the architect's document. In the third subsection is about the architect's signing on the architectural documents. The fourth subsection is about the ownership of the architectural document. And the fifth subsection is about the affixing of the architect's sign and seal on the architectural document. Now, let me expound on those general thoughts I just mentioned for those subsections. Okay? To start with, I wish to emphasize the seal. Well, actually, this is the primary subject in this section. The mark or an emblem, if you may, that an architect uses to imprint it in all of the architect's professional outputs, like professional or technical documents, such as the architectural plans, drawings, specifications, and all other contract documents that the architect has prepared or by the architect's staff, provided that the architect himself or herself has a direct supervision on those documents. Now, allow me to physically describe the seal, if you may, huh? For those who are curious how the mark or the seal is imprinted on those documents. The seal is made of a metal cast iron. It's quite heavy, actually, I would say, and it has a short lever arm where you can hold on to give pressure on those two circular plates that creates that seal. I will paste a photo on that somewhere here, okay, for your reference. Okay, now, furthermore, according to Section 20, the seal must bear the architect's full name. It also includes the architect's registration number as a licensed and registered architect. And of course, the word architect, indicating or identifying the profession. Well, for some architects who has other profession aside from being an architect, there may be a separate seal for their other, profession. And that is clear that only the architect seal will only be imprinted on all architectural documents, not the other profession he or she holds. And I think, my friend, you got the idea. Okay? Now, let me now go on to the first subsection of Section 20. Number one tells us that an architect must obtain a professional seal of an architect. As I have explained earlier, the seal of the architect must be stamped at all the architect's professional outputs that the architect have rendered, accompanied with the architect's signature, of course. And well, that's normally how many architects do, by the way. And please note that only documents such as the architectural plans, drawings, specifications, and all the professional instruments that were directly supervised by the architect shall be sealed. If I may add, the architect's seal signifies the work done by the architect, and it attaches to the architect's professional integrity and the responsibility that comes along with it. And please take note that this architect seal may expire or may be revoked, but of course, it may be renewed with certain procedures in accordance with this act. Now, let me now go on to number two under Section 20. There are 3 points I wish to emphasize in this section. The first point on this paragraph is about the preparation and the use of the architect's seal for architectural documents. At the onset of the paragraph we read under number 2, the law is clear that all architectural documents shall be prepared by the architect, and no other professionals or any person has the right to prepare architectural documents, unless, of course, it has a direct supervision of the architect. This was already our battle cry when UAP intervened in a legal case in 2005. And after 20 years, we were able to prove that only architects can prepare, sign, and seal all architectural documents. I may be able to come up with another video for that. Okay? This may be a reason why you need to subscribe to this channel, to be properly notified on the upcoming videos. Okay? All right. Now, going back to number 2. It is clear in this subsection that no officer or employees for this republic, chartered cities, provinces, and municipalities who shall not enforce this law, ordinances, or regulations relating to the designing, construction, or alteration of buildings shall accept or approve any architectural plans or specifications which was not been prepared, signed and sealed by the architect. He or she shall be in trouble of violating this provision if anyone does that. and that no payment be approved if the architectural documents were not prepared, signed, and sealed by the architect. Well, I guess you got the point of this subsection. Okay, now let me now go on to number three. Number three tells us that it is unlawful or it will be a violation of this act for another architect affixing his or her seal and signing architectural documents done by another architect. The primary reason behind this is that the architect who signed the architectural documents is legally responsible and must have a full knowledge of the documents of the of the architect who signed, thereby whatever professional or legal concerns or issue that may raise on those signed documents, the signing architect can say that he or she has no knowledge on those signed documents he or she signed and imprinted his or her seal. Well, basically, the logic here is that the signing architect must have the basic knowledge of the document he or she signed and sealed, and must have supervised in the production of the architectural document outputs. Now, moving on to one of my favorites provision. Now, let me tell you why, okay? Now, number four. Number four protects the intellectual property of the architect who came up with those architectural documents. This is clearly emphasizes that all the architect's instrument of services or professional outputs belongs to the architect. In short, the main author of those architectural documents that the architect has produced or had it produced under his or her supervision is basically the architect's ownership because of the responsibility and the legality of it. What is nice about this is that no project owner, entities, or individual can duplicate, reproduce, or copy, construct, or build in part or in whole any architectural document without the permission of the architect who did those architectural documents. And the last subsection, in section 20 tells us that the instrument of service of the architect, particularly in those architectural documents that will be constructed, shall affix the signature of a licensed and registered architect and stamped by the architect's seal, together, of course, with his or her professional identification card number and the date of its expiration. Well, I believe that wraps up my presentation in section 20. Seal, issuance, and use of seal. And by the way, if you happen to like this video, please do press that like button down there. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please press that subscribe button, and the notification bell as well, which is beside it. And thank you for doing so. I also appreciate you giving time to watch this video. And if you haven't watched my other videos yet, please do so. And I hope that you visit my future videos and my previous videos as well. And I am your host, Architect Edric Marcos C. Florentino, for All About Shelters. And thank you. And mabuhay.